On this day in 1969, referee Jim Callaghan failed to send off John Hughes for an off-the-ball incident with Rangers winger Willie Johnston. A letter of complaint from Rangers in the days after the match led to the SFA giving him an unprecedented 8-week suspension. Jim Callaghan was a well-respected referee in August 1969. On the FIFA list and scheduled to take charge of the Glentoran Arsenal First Cities Cup tie on the 29th of September. He had taken charge of the 1969 Scottish Cup final a few months before. On the 11th of October 1969, Mr Callaghan was presented with the ironically named Charlie Faultless Trophy for the previous season's best referee by the Glasgow Referees Association. In short, he was universally recognised as one of the best referees in the country. The Celtic Rangers League Cup sectional match at Celtic Park on the 20th of August 1969 was as run-of-the-mill as these matches can be. Rangers had won the first fixture between the two at Ibrox on the 13th of August and needed only a draw to all but secure qualification for the knockout stages. Celtic needed a win. It was a ferociously fought encounter, as it always was, and two Celtic players, including John Hughes, had been booked in the first half, along with one Rangers player. What would become the fateful moment occurred less than a minute into the second half, with Callaghan following the play at the other end of the pitch when Hughes clashed with Johnston. Johnston, who was most memorably described as a wee naff, had a sly dig at Yogi, who responded with a knee into his back, and Johnston, sent off a record 22 times in his career, and who would one day leave stud marks on the throat and chest of Aberdeen's John McMaster, went down like a ton of bricks. The linesman, J.M. Wilson of Bishopbriggs, raised his flag and kept it raised until Callaghan spotted it and ran over to speak to him. Tom Campbell, in Celtic's Paranoia, All in the Mind, gives an account of their conversation as related to him by an unnamed Celtic official. Callaghan: "What's up?" Linesman: "Hughes and Johnston, right after the kick-off. Hughes retaliated." Callaghan: "Right, what are you suggesting I do then?" Linesman: "The rules are clear. You don't have much choice. He has to go." Callaghan: "Are you really sure about that? You're going to be the man running this line for the rest of this game?" Linesman: "Remarks were inaudible." Mr Callaghan, who had a reputation for not sending players off unless it was absolutely necessary, especially if a player had been provoked, then chose to lecture Hughes rather than, as the rules demanded, send him off. The incident was highlighted on TV that evening, but the papers next day mentioned it merely in passing, with none making a big deal of it. Glyn Edwards in the Glasgow Herald made no mention of it at all. Ger Henderson wrote in the Evening Times of the 21st of August 1969, "In the first half, John Hughes was booked for a foul on Jardine, and Mr Callaghan had no sooner blown his whistle for the start of the second half than the same Hughes used his knee to perpetrate a shocking foul on Johnston, when the ball was far away in the Celtic half of the field. Mr Callaghan, who commendably likes to keep close to the football action, had his back to the incident, and it took a linesman to draw attention to the fact that Johnston was writhing in agony on the turf, and giving maybe an Oscar-winning performance of a man in his death throes. When play had been stopped, and after the referee and the sharp-eyed linesman had gone into a long huddle, Hughes was told, 'Come, you can't do that there here.' But he stayed on the field, and Celtic lived to win." The winning goal came in the 67th minute, when Rangers keeper Jerry Neath dropped a high free kick to the back post by Bobby Murdoch, and Tommy Gemmell came rushing in to crash a low-diving header into the net. There was little sign of what was to come in the days after the game, until the SFA received a letter of complaint from Rangers over Callaghan's failure to send Hughes off. It was not unknown for referees to be downgraded at this time, but normally it would be done quietly at the end of the season after an appraisal of the official's performance over the course of the whole season, not because of a single incident. Nevertheless, the SFA went to town publicly on Jim Callaghan and announced on the 15th of September 1969 that he was suspended from refereeing for 2 months. Celtic were furious, with Bob Kelly quoted as saying, "In all my years in football, this is the worst decision I have ever known. Can a referee ever again feel that he has solid authority backed by the game's governing body? Jock Stein also weighed in saying, "I would hate to think we would ever stoop low enough to make an official protest that could possibly result in a decision like this." Bob Kelly launched an appeal against the suspension, which was rejected out of hand by the SFA in October. Contrary to popular perception, the suspension did not end Jim Callaghan's refereeing career. He continued to referee top-flight matches until 1975 and remained a popular figure amongst his colleagues, but he was publicly shamed by the SFA in a manner that was barely believable, and few thought it would have ever happened had the complaint come from any other source.